Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today to listen to our conversation. My guest is Nilda Heyek. And Nilda, thank you so much for joining me. I'm very glad you're here.
Thank you for
And
having me.
you're welcome. I'm going to read your bio here so people will know a little bit about you. And the topic today is about finding our soul purpose. And Nilda Heyek is the creator of the Soul Map Method, a transformational framework that helps women recognize and release inherited beliefs so they can reconnect with who they truly are. Her own healing journey deepened her understanding of how human experience flows from the inside out and how the patterns we carry shape the way we live, relate, and make decisions, often in ways we don't fully realize. Along the way, she uncovered a simple yet profound truth that many of the beliefs and expectations shaping our lives were never ours to begin with. And today, Nilda combines personal experience and years of study to help women identify the hidden conditioning that influences their health, relationships, choices, and sense of self. Through the Soul Map method, she guides them back to greater clarity, self trust, and authentic living. Her website is nildaheyek.com, and her YouTube channel is her name also, Nilda Heyek. And so, Nilda, thank you so much for joining us. And I would like to start, like I always do. I love to hear people's stories, how you came to do the work you're doing, and why it means so much to you. If you would share whatever part of it you're wanting to share.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carla. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so grateful. So, well, it's so interesting because life brings us in different ways, and we tend to do things in life, the choices that we make, according to what we observe, what we think that we have to do, right? What we've been conditioned to do, either by our cultural traditions, family, society, what is expected of us to do. And so I find life super interesting because I broke in many molds. I came from a traditional Catholic Mexican family, grew up in Mexico, love my culture, my family dearly. But I always felt that there was something else out there, like things didn't really fit 100%, if you know what I mean. And so I had to find, I've always very, very heart driven, and I've always followed what I needed, like my insight, even if that made my mom and dad mad, even if, I was, what are you doing? You know? And so that brought me to United States, exploring life, open to opportunities, super excited. And something that really cool happened is that when I was like 17 years old, living in Mexico, my mom will sit me down and share with me about this book that she was fascinated with. She was reading about metaphysics and learning how we are creators of our own life. And so she would share these things about this book that she was reading. And I was like so not interested. Like I just wanted to go out and play and, just be with my friends, just, do the kids things that you do when you're 17 years old, right? And I was not receptive. But fast forward to when I was in United States, I've been here 1 year. I was living with my grandparents, and I was 20, 21, 22. And a friend of mine, she said, "You have to read this book." And she handed me this book. It was the exact same book that my mom had been trying to share with me for a while, right? And I was like, okay, I get it. I have to read that book. So the first thing that book said is that don't believe everything I say, you know, take only what resonates within you. And I thought, okay, I can do that. Let go of the rest. And the next thing it said, It said, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And I was like, what? Like literally, I mean, right now that concept is like more mainstream, but
Mhm.
this is 1991 that I'm talking about. So, like, literally, my world expanded, my mind blew away, my world opened to all these new possibilities, and I never saw life the same way again. So that was a life-changing moment for me. And so just thinking about the possibilities, okay, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Your level of experience, your level of relationship shifts. Everything that you do begins to shift. Now, the cool thing too, well, interesting, I guess, is that we're still in this human experience and we get lost in it. And so we still live in a society, we still live in a culture. We're still trying to find our way. At the same time, we find our own individual expression.
Mhm.
And that's what I believe when we can align ourselves with what lives inside of our soul, which I call it a blueprint, a map of our soul. We all have our own map. When we are able to begin to read that map and follow it, that's when we can begin to find our soul purpose, fulfill our life's purpose. So that's how I sort of stumble upon, in a nutshell.
Yeah, very good. So then, how do we read it? How do we read our own?
Okay, so that's really interesting. So we need to be able to listen. We learn to listen because oftentimes we brush off that little voice that's always there. Now tell me it's not just me.
No, it's there.
It's always there, right? And sometimes it's just very, I say most of the time, it's very subtle. It's just very subtle. So we tend to like brush it off as nothing, just a thought passing by. Because we have many, many, many thoughts that we process through thoughts that are triggered through our perceptions, through our experience, through our interactions with others. All those gives us a stimuli, and those emotions, and then we are thinking about things, and then we drown that insight with all those thoughts. I always use that analogy that there's this lake, and your mind is like this lake, and every thought that we have is like a pebble, right? So every time you have thought, a feeling, an emotion, experience, there's all these pebbles in the water, and they're always there, but they make ripples. They make ripples. So you can't really see the bottom. You can't really see through until you settle your mind,
Mhm.
right? So that's the first thing is awareness, and the second time is listening.
Yes.
Learning, right? The more we begin to listen, then the easier it becomes to recognize that voice.
Mhm.
And then it becomes more clear, right? So
Yes.
now it's one thing to listen, another thing is to actually follow, right?
Right. Yes. Um, Part of it is learning to trust that, or making the
Yes.
decision that you're going to trust that no matter what, even if it doesn't quite make sense to you, or even
Yeah,
if you don't know why, right?
exactly.
Even if
Even if it
people say,
doesn't.
no, that's not it. And it's like, yes, I have to, because I might not hear it again. If I don't listen, if I stop listening, I might not hear it.
But see, you will not hear it again. It will always be there because it's part of you. It's part of, it's your essence. It's part of you. But it may be more quiet, more dim. It might be clouded with all the ruffles and the waves in the water, right? The
Yeah, and
ripple.
right. And I think that in choosing to not listen, it's like a conscious decision, basically, um, that perhaps then it starts the pattern of not listening again, like you're used to. And
Mhm.
so, I don't know. Um, I just say listen as much as you can, right? Follow it as much
Yes.
as you can.
As much as you are able,
Hmm.
because it could be a conscious decision not to, but it could be also an unconscious decision because we're not so aware of it. We're not so aware. I mean, knowing that we have an inner voice and inner guidance doesn't exempt us from making mistakes and making choices that gets us into a little bit of trouble. We're
Yeah,
human after all. We're having this
right.
human experience. So, I mean, it's part of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
To have the free will to make the choices and then have reality reflect to us what those choices are. And then only us individually can go within and say, okay, you know, what is this trying to tell me? How does this mirror? How can I align myself to get into a different life experience? Because trying to change our lives, we could do a lot of things. We can, move away. We can change jobs. We can change everything about ourselves. But if we are still the same person making the same type of decisions, we will continue to perpetuate the similar experiences.
Hmm.
So until we're able to consciously say, okay, I get it. And then I'm consciously choosing, I'm consciously moving into this direction, which is in alignment to that which my heart desires,
Yeah.
then my experience will shift, will begin to shift. There's a little delay there, and I think it's great wisdom that there's a delay in our life experience.
Yeah, probably so. We have so many ups and downs of the emotions that if it was followed immediately, um,
Yeah, it
it
will be
might not be
interesting.
helpful. Very good. So, how do you, um, or what method, what modality or such do you use most to quiet the hemispheres of the mind so you can listen to your spirit?
Well, practicing presence is basic. And to be present in our body, we can connect with our breathing. Uh-huh. Because we breathe automatically. We don't even think about breathing. And sometimes if we come to realize we're not really fully breathing, we're just shallow breathing. We may have a headache or something, and then we realize that I'm not even breathing properly, right? So that means we're not even present. We're lost in whatever we're experiencing at the moment. So step number one is to become present by simply taking deep inhales consciously, deep into our belly, long exhales. And as we do this a couple times, you will begin to feel the shift in your mind. The ripples begin to settle. The thoughts don't stop, but there begins to be some settleness, or the ripples begin to settle enough for you to allow the space. And when you allow the space, then you can receive. And by allowing yourself to receive, you can begin to notice the insights, that quiet voice. Mhm. So that's
Breath work.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right, right.
And there's many kinds of breath work, but it can also be just sitting down and inhaling deeply. You can count to four as you inhale and then count to four as you exhale, or, it's called square
Mm-hmm.
breathing.
Right.
And and just notice that subtle shift. Like sometimes, say my kid is like, being very, very loud and jumping all over, mama, 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 and I have all these things going on. I'm busy with making dinner and trying to rush, and, I can get lost in my head. But if I take a moment and just take a moment to breathe, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to practice, a method or something. Just become present. Then I can allow the space, know that he's a kid only for so long. All is well, you know, dinner will be done. All is good. So,
Mm, very nice. Yeah. And I see you have chakras to the side, and
Mhm.
I had read, I think, where you do chakra balancing. How does that tie in with
Mhm.
listening to your spirit?
Well, I do crystal. I work with crystals, and I've always been fascinated with chakras. The chakras are our energy centers in the body because our physical vehicle is this flesh and bones that we feel, that we see, right? But we also have this energetic body. And the chakras represent different major centers that we have in the body. In this chart, we can see seven chakras from the root to the crown. They're all along the spine, and they all vibrate at different frequencies, but they also represent different things in our lives. What fascinates me a lot about nature and the chakras, humans, all of that, is that, do you know that the color of the chakras are the same colors as the rainbow? How cool is
Yes.
that? How
Yeah.
cool is that,
Yeah.
right? So, like for example, the throat chakra, the center of expression is the color blue, right? So center of expression. Sometimes we have a sore throat or we lose our voice. Then we can begin to think, what is it in my life that I'm not being truth, that I'm not speaking up? What is my body trying to tell me? Right? Sometimes we get a gut feeling, right? It's our center of power, our solar plexus. We get a gut feeling, and and- and I don't know, we are warned of something.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever like walk into a room, for example, and then just notice like, ooh, someone just had a fight here or something? Something doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
That's your energy center. Your chakras are interacting with the world that we don't see before our human senses can perceive the messages. So I think it's all interrelated, interconnected. Um, when we align our energy centers and allow them to be open and balanced, that reflects in how we feel in our body. That can also reflect in our lives, because how we feel oftentimes affect the choices that we make or the things that we decide to do or not to do, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, okay, and then the crystals, this is awesome. And also the crystals work, they're not woo-woo, they're science.
Mm-hmm.
Different crystals resonate at different vibrational frequencies. And some crystals match the different centers of the body. So crystal healing is one tool, a tool, there are many tools, to help balance the chakras,
Okay.
the energy of
Mm-hmm.
the chakras. So, you know.
Yes. Well, very good. Yes, and in my work, I do biofield tuning and I use
Yeah.
a chakra hologram and it's
Yes.
loaded with crystals, yeah, throughout
I
on
love
the
that.
chakras. Yeah. It's a big help. Yeah, I count on their energies
Ah,
to
that's
help clear.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So how do the Akashic records then come into play?
Well, the Akashic Records is it's a it's a it's not a place, but it's an energetic place, right? Where everything is recorded. Our intentions, our choices, all our lifetimes. So the Akashic Records is a tool. It could be a tool of self-discovery, but also say we have something really interesting. For example, say you have a pain in the hip. The hips they hold a lot of emotions. Sometimes pain represents anger. You may have had a past experience before this life experience, a past experience where whatever happened triggered a lot of anger that you came into this world with, and then you've suffered from that all the time. Since you can remember, for example, just an example. When you become aware where this comes from, which is not really that you step wrong or did an exercise wrong and, hurt your hip. It's not like that. It's deeper than that. You know, it's an ancestral wound, for example, or it's a contract. You can discover those type of things in the Akashic records. And by becoming aware, you can choose to release those. You can choose to release those. And by releasing them, you begin healing. You begin the healing work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, very good. Very good. And you use Reiki also?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So could you describe like one of your sessions with people? Or I'm sure it varies for each person. But
Well, yeah, I don't do one-on-one sessions right now. I have done them in the past, but I do more like um, um, group teachings. I think all of these tools come together. But what is most important is for people to realize that they are who they are in essence. You know, we are love, we are light, and when we begin to realize that, it's like our faults, our mistakes, our identity that I had to do this or I had to do that begins to fall away, becomes, we get more clarity. We get more clarity on the essence of who we are. So those tools, they're just they're just tools, right?
hmm.
But the awareness is what brings it all together. If somebody is willing to change, they want to find a place in their life where their life is aligned to their soul purpose, where they feel that they are loving the life they live and living the life they love. Sometimes all they need to do is unpack all this conditioning and patterns that have been a part of their experience. Because we tend to do things on automatic. We tend to do things on automatic because that we're used to, that's how the things are done, right? Now, to answer your question, I may guide someone into realizing, say, what is the problem at hand, you know, and then peeling the layers, what's behind that problem. And then once they realize that, they could be like, wow, literally. I had a client who had an issue with her mother, and she had a pain in her body. And then we discovered through all this work that the issues that she was having with her mom were causing the anger, which they were causing the pain in her body. And the pain really went away after she understood why it was happening.
Right. Oh, that's
And
great.
so,
Yeah.
right. So awareness and choice, sometimes we are not even aware that we have a problem. We may be in a relationship and we may be addicted to drama and we don't even realize this, right? So
Right.
awareness is the first step always, and I always say that a clue to know that perhaps you want to explore a different thing is that we feel what I call divine discontent because we're not fitting in the life that we're living. So what is that? That's a divine discontent, right? So if we
Mm-hmm.
follow that, then we can open ourselves to explore and find answers, and answers are within us.
Right. So that's your soul map or your method, right? It's kind of like steps that you take all toward finding that.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yes, the soul map method. I love maps. I don't know why, but it's the soul map is a mirror aligned presence. So mirror is becoming aware of that we are creators of our own experience and understanding why we're experiencing the things that are happening in our lives. Sometimes we want to change what's in the mirror, but we need to understand that we need to change ourselves first before what we see in the mirror changes. Once we have this understanding, then we can align ourselves. And by being present at every moment is that we can consciously make the decisions.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yes, I'm very excited. Yes. I
Yeah.
just love that. I think, like Soul Blueprint, Akashic Records, Reiki crystals, all of that. I mean, they may be kind of like different pieces, but I think it all integrates into helping us align ourselves with the map that we are born into,
Hmm.
right? And I really think that we all have a very unique map. We all have strengths and challenges, patterns that we need to be aware of, and that we can choose to overcome. Life is a very individual experience, and it doesn't mean that everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies and, super easy, but we can have a different perspective. We can have a different perspective and realize that we have a choice. We have a choice because we like Wayne Dyer used to say, we see things, how did he say? We see things the way they are. No, we see things the way we are. We don't see things how they are. We see things how we are, right? So our interpretation of the world is different.
Right, right, for sure.
Mhm.
Very good. Um, Everyone that's watching, I just want you to know that myself and Nilda will be speakers at the New Era of Global Healing Summit that's in October 5th, 6th, and 7th, I believe it is. The
Yeah.
link's down below if you'd want to check it out. And I'll be talking about the 5 steps to ancestral healing. And I'll be talking about how feng shui helps build the sacred homes for the healing of our families and our children. And Nilda, would you talk about what you'll be talking about there? Give like a little overview or of.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be talking about the hidden patterns that are running your life, and how to become your authentic self. Because like I said, sometimes we have ancestral memories and early conditioning that has shaped our beliefs about love, about our worth, about safety. And we will begin to recognize patterns that are ready to be released towards reclaiming our authentic self.
Yeah, awesome. Very good. So, would you have a final thought or something helpful to give to the people listening now to help them on their
Yeah,
way?
yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes we get lost in life, and that's okay. That's really okay. Sometimes we tend to bring ourselves down, and like our self-talk is really important, and becoming aware of it is really important. So if we are in a place where we're not so, we're experiencing divine discontent and we're feeling kind of lost, just know that it's okay, it's temporary, and everything is going to be okay. But you can definitely begin to become present and begin to listen your inner guidance. And as you begin to listen to your inner guidance and follow that, things will begin to shift. I always say that life is sort of like climbing a mountain, and we're at the base. So what we see is the mountain and just what's around us, but we don't have a view really. But the more we raise our awareness, self-awareness, know thyself, right? The more we raise our awareness, the more expanded view we get. Now, that doesn't mean that things were not there. We just could not perceive them from where we were. So all we need to do is allow ourselves to raise ourselves up emotionally, energetically, so we are able to open ourselves and perceive the gifts that life has for us. So
Yeah, very nice. Very
thank you.
nice. Yeah, thank you for being here today, Nilda. And Nilda's contact information, her website, and her YouTube channel, the links are below to check out her offerings and check out the summit too. It's down below, and um, we're looking forward to sharing what we've been shown and what we've learned from listening to our inner selves and from spirit guidance around us. And so please check us out too. So thank you all for watching, and thank you, Nilda, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Carla. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Pleasure for me too. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.